Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1032, February the 3rd, 2020. It is Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alrighty, going to get to a couple of news items here. Going to do the dumbass of the, name the dumbass of the week for the previous week. And boy, was that ever a close race this week. I mean, it came down to the wire. You will be surprised at how close the race was this week for Dumbass of the Week, proving once again your vote counts. People say my vote didn't count. You know how many elections and how many dumbasses of the week have been decided by one vote? Happens a lot. So, welcome to TowerGate, by the way, in case you haven't figured it out. Advertising free, no ads on my videos. Not only that, I won't even ask you to give me a thumbs up, or share my videos, or make a donation, or anything else, because I really don't give a damn. But, thanks for tuning in anyway. Let's go ahead and talk about some things here. But before I get into some of the news items, I just want to talk about one issue. It's not so much a news issue. It's an issue, though, that I think probably every one of us here deal with to one degree or another, and that is the blowback that we face from supporting Trump. And some people, this is worse than for other people. I'm very fortunate because I am in a family. My family is hardcore Trump supporters. Card-carrying members of the Make America Great Again crowd. We all got the hats. We all got the shirts. We go to the rallies. We are hardcore Trump supporters. My entire family. Brothers, sisters, mothers, grandmothers, cousins. We're hardcore Trump supporters. And in fact, this entire area of southern Ohio where I live, southwestern Ohio, this is Trump country to death. It's about, in fact, Democrats do not even run in this voting district where I live. There might be some Democrats around here, but you will be hard-pressed to find one. But I have a group of friends, particularly Facebook-type friends. I'm in a Facebook group of a lot of buddies of mine. We grew up together in the same neighborhood. We all went to school together throughout the years in our life after school. We get together, socialize, go ride bikes and hiking, and we do all sorts of things. Not so much as we used to, but we have a pretty tight group. And in this particular group, we have had some within this group of my extended friends in this group who are hardcore anti-Trumpers. And for about 2 years, I used to try to have discussion with them, and I would typically just focus on policy and why I like Trump's policies. And I could say, well, okay, I can understand why some people don't like his personality or his attitude or his the way he combs his hair or whatever. Any of these things, I can understand why people may not like that. But I would always focus on, hey, man, I like his position on the Second Amendment. I like his position on immigration. I like his tax policy. I like this policy. So I would always try to discuss Trump about the policies. But I found that these hardcore anti-Trumpers would never actually discuss or even care about the issues. It wasn't the issues at all. They cared nothing about the issues. It was all the retort to anything I said about a policy issue was, oh, you're brainwashed. Yeah, you're brainwashed. You're listening to this and that and nothing. You're brainwashed, which is kind of like calling me an idiot in a way, which I don't appreciate. I would let that roll off my back and I would just continue on. Then, of course, all the typical attacks that get thrown at you. Then it's old Trump's a racist. He's this. He's Hitler. This. Nobody saw Hitler. I would get all this type of crap. I would put up with it. I did this for about 2 years. I finally got my fill of it, and me and a bunch of my other friends, and I think we all just kind of, on our own came to the conclusion that we're never really going to get through to these people. We're not going to convince them, and I was never trying to convince them that they should support Trump. I don't give a damn who they support. I don't care if they vote Democrat. I don't care if they vote for Obama or Hillary. I really didn't care. I wasn't trying to bring them in or convert them. I was explaining why I supported Trump. And all I got was personal, vicious attacks on me and my friends who support Trump. And I finally just realized that I'm just not going to do it anymore. And I just let it go. I just let it go. I no longer respond to those. I see the threads. I go over to my Facebook account about once a week and see what my other buddies are doing, because Sometimes we get together and do things. So I can see my friends who like Trump, and I can see the ones who hate Trump, and they battle back and forth. And the anti-Trumpers are constantly posting stuff. Every day they're posting up garbage, anti-Trump garbage and stuff. And I just don't comment on it anymore. I just let it go, man. I just let it go. And I can do that because these are just friends who are kind of in a circle. I can just choose not to associate with them anymore. And I kind of feel bad about it. I'd rather it not be that way. But, you know, if I never see or talk to these people again for the rest of my life, I'm okay. I got plenty of other friends. So I'm okay with that. Now, for those of you who have issues in your family, and I know of one person specifically who's one of my original TowerGate subscribers, she has literally been, you could say, excommunicated from her family, kicked out of the family because she supports Trump. Now, this is very sad, and it's easy to let go of some friends, but it's hard to let go of your family. I mean, how do you disassociate yourself for the rest of your life with your family? And why should you have to? Over your choice of political policy or liking a president or not liking? I mean, this is way beyond. This has never happened before in my life. People have always disagreed over, you know, people can laugh and joke about the fact that they disagree over their choice for president or whatever. I've never seen it this bad where people would literally want to drive someone or tell someone in the family that they're no longer welcome to be a part of the family because they voted for Trump. This is very sad. It's painful for me to hear this, quite honestly. And I don't really understand it, and I feel very bad if that's your situation. All I can say is what I have learned is work for me is just to let it go. Because ultimately it will begin to frustrate you, anger you. It will begin to consume time from you. It will begin to eat into you. And ultimately it will begin to harm you. Don't allow this type of crap to harm you. Remember, your life is about you, pretty much. Focus on what you want in life. Focus on the things that you want, and don't focus on the things that you don't want, and don't focus on or hang around with people who make you feel bad, who bring you down, who make you angry. This is sucking your positive energy, and why do you want to have this anyway? So it's easy if it's a friend, you can just kind of get away from them. It's a coworker, sometimes it's okay, just don't talk about that stuff. A family member is much tougher, but ultimately I would say let it go. Just let it go and just let it go. Trump will be in office another 5 years, that'll be gone. Maybe after that, things can come back together again, I don't know. But another reason that you should let it go is because ultimately this is going to fix itself. And it's going to fix itself because if you just let it go and step back from it and ignore it and go on with your life and focus on what you want and focus on your friends who do like Trump and stay away from those negative people and all that crap, you're going to be able to watch as the Democratic Party is on its way. It's already began into an internal civil war. And the internal civil war that's coming and has already began in the Democratic Party is ultimately going to destroy all of that. Pretty soon, probably sometime right around during the week of and following the convention, the Democrats are going to be in full civil war against one another. And they're going to forget all about Trump for the most part because they're going to be so engaged in turning the knives on each other. So this is all going to work itself out. And that's going to go on probably when they arrive at the convention. And again, a lot of people are suggesting that this 2020 might look a lot like the 68 Democratic convention. I know there's a lot of, I've mentioned that there are some things that are very similar, but there's other things that are not. But there's some things that are similar. I do believe it's going to be a crazy, crazy DNC convention. I do believe there will be a lot of, I don't know about hardcore, the type of violence we saw in 68, but there is going to be a lot of really big problems, essentially a civil war in the Democratic Party. It's going to happen. It's going to build up, and at the convention is where it's all going to come unglued. And then after the convention, they're going to be in total civil war all the way through the November election. This is all going to be happening, and these people will forget all about Trump supporters, believe me, because they're going to be so, their hatred for people within their own party will be greater than their hatred of us, because they'll see those people as total traitors. They are Democrats, and they will hate them worse than they actually hate us. We're just going to go on and laugh and cheer and have fun and prepare ourselves for the big victory we're going to have in November, while the demo commies sort of evolve into this sort of civil war. And so this is all going to take care of itself. The best thing you can do right now is let it go. Don't try to battle these people anymore. You're not going to convince them of anything. They're not going to discuss policy with you anyway. You can try to talk about policy. They're just going to call you names and all this other stuff. It's a waste of your time. It sucks out your positive energy. Just get on with your life. Hang out with people who you are agreeable with and enjoy your life, and watch these people destroy themselves and their party, because that's exactly what is going to happen. So that's my feelings on that. Now let's move on to some stories before we announce the dumbass of the week. And yes, I do intend to maybe do a separate video on the 68 Democratic National Convention and the some of the things that I see in common with what we might see go down in 2020. I'll have to probably do that on a weekend, so maybe next weekend I'll do that video and get that up for you. So let's go on to the news of the day. Well, so it looks like on Wednesday, of course Tuesday is the State of the Union. Then Wednesday, they'll have the vote around noon. Trump will be acquitted. The impeachment will be over, right? Wrong. Nope. They're already working now in the House to begin set the stage for impeachment part 2. We know that they currently are still in the courts battling to get the Mueller grand jury Mueller grand jury information, which they believe there's things in there that they can use to jumpstart a second attempt at impeachment. They're going to try to get Mulvaney, and they're going to try to get Bolton, and they're going to try to get these people. It's most likely going to be blocked by executive order. It's going to go into the courts. They're going to continue to dig and dig. And as I've said before, they are never, ever, ever going to stop trying to go after Trump. I perfectly expect that they'll try a second impeachment before the November elections. They'll continue. I mean, they're just not going to stop. This is never, ever, ever going to stop. As long as Trump is president, they'll be looking to take him out. That's why we have to defeat them in both houses in 2020, take their power away, so that then they'll only be just an annoyance. They won't have the power to even bring any type of impeachment hearings or anything else. Give Republicans control and take the power away from them. In at least ways, they'll still be annoying us, but at least ways they won't have the power to do anything about it. So that's the best thing that we can do, is defeat them in November, all across the board. The House, the Senate, and the White House. But no, nothing is over. This is just this is a one-day event. Trump will be cleared. He'll be acquitted, and then but they've already began making the preparations to get the information to do what they're going to do for the second impeachment attempt. So it'll be coming around. Just wait and see. Now, I know you're thinking, man, it was such a disastrous failure. Why would they do it a second time, as bad as it worked out for him? Well, Trump derangement syndrome. Loss of brain matter, as I explained earlier. Now, I want to drill down a little bit on this Grassley Johnson letter that was sent to AG Barr asking him to declassify those 4 footnotes in the IG report. Now, no one can come out and say what's in those 4 classified footnotes, but they don't really have to. We can kind of figure it out. Essentially, what Grassley and Johnson have seen, as well as Gowdy and Ratcliffe, in those classified footnotes, is that in those classified footnotes, if they are declassified and made public, will reveal that, in fact, Halper, they will admit in those 4 footnotes that Halper was working to make contact with people in the Trump campaign prior to July 31st, 2016, which was, of course, the Operation Crossfire Hurricane. The IG report puts in there, according to the testimony they got from the people in the FBI says, and this is what's in the IG report, that they never used their confidential informants until after they started Operation Crossfire Hurricane. But those 4 footnotes will show that, in fact, they did. And, of course, we know they did. We know when the contacts with Michael Flynn began. We know when the contacts with Papadopoulos began. We know when the contacts with Halper began. We know about contacts with both Stone and Caputo. And there may be others. In fact, Josh Miller, Halper tried to get him as well. And Clovis. Sam Clovis, they also made contact with him. So they had made contact with a half a dozen people long before the opening of Crossfire Hurricane. That is most likely what is in the footnotes that they withheld from us in the IG report. And that would mean one of 2 things. Either the FBI is telling the truth and Halper was not working for the FBI when those contacts happened prior to July 31st, and then Horowitz would be telling the truth, which or they're lying, and Halper was working for the FBI prior to July 31st, making contacts with these people, in which case IG Horowitz will have lied in the IG report, telling us otherwise. And so what's the other option? Well, the other option is that Halper was making contact with people in the Trump campaign prior to July 31st, but he wasn't working for the FBI at that time. So you'd have to believe that Halper is making contact with all these people in the Trump campaign during the spring and up to the midsummer of 2016, and then all of a sudden they open Crossfire Hurricane, and then all of a sudden, boom, Halper becomes FBI informant. Prior to that, he's working for someone else or working on his own. And then all of a sudden, Crossfire Hurricane comes out, boom, now he's working for the FBI, which is still very, very, shady. But that's what's going on with these 4 classified footnotes. That's what those 4 classified footnotes are about. Whether or not AG Barr will release them, I doubt he will. Not before Durham finishes his work. At some point they'll obviously be out there, but I don't think that he'll do it right now. But it could be very damning for Inspector General Huckleberry Horowitz if, in fact, we find out the other scenario, which is that Horowitz says no, there was no confidential informant working against the Trump campaign prior to the opening of Crossfire Hurricane, and we find out that he was. That Halper actually was working for the FBI when he was approaching those people prior to Operation Crossfire Hurricane. That would mean Horowitz lied. And I just don't know that Horowitz would put himself in that position knowing good and well that this eventually would come out and he would be shown to have lied in the IG report. So I think there's something else going on here. I think Halper was likely working for the Brennan Multi-Agency Task Force, which included FBI, and then as soon as they got their official Operation Crossfire Hurricane, then they went ahead and made the transition and put him into the FBI, because then they needed to use him as an informant to get the warrants and the national security letters. I think that's probably what happened. I think that's probably what will be found to be true when it all comes out. So, if you were curious about what's in those footnotes, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'm about 98% sure. So, there you go. Is the rotten Reverend Clinton working with Michael Bloomberg? That's a very good question. Some people are starting to wonder. Michael Bloomberg knows he does not have the stuff, you might say, to be elected president. He's not been in hardly any of the debates up until the very end. He might get into 1 or 2, but ultimately he just doesn't. He knows this, and I don't even know if he wants the job. What is Michael Bloomberg doing then? Well, he's not just. He said he's wanting to spend $200 million. He's not just pumping a lot of money in himself, but he's pumping money into the DNC. So I think that what Bloomberg is doing is that Bloomberg wants to be the kingmaker. He doesn't really have to be the president or win the nomination if he's the guy that bankrolls it. He's got the DNC completely broke. They can't raise money. Republicans are killing them on raising money. Here comes Bloomberg in with the money to save the day. He becomes kingmaker. He comes in and says, okay, well, I got the money. Boom. Once he gives the DNC the money, then he has a lot to say about who the nominee will be. And we know that Bloomberg threw his hat in the race because he feared Bernie would win because he thinks Biden is too weak. And he's correct. Bloomberg is correct. He knows exactly what I know, what many of you know. Biden ain't going to get it done. We've known that for a long time. Now, many of you know the Sundance theory, which is that that they only allowed Biden to run because that helped them set up Trump in the Ukraine trap. And John Kerry could serve the same purpose. And he's also now being floated as possibly the next guy to step in when Biden flunks out, which I expect will happen probably sooner than later. If they can't get Biden across the finish line, put Kerry in there. And of course, then they could also bring back the Ukraine thing because Kerry was investigated too. So I get that, and that's a possibility. But ultimately, I think that Michael Bloomberg is angling for the kingmaker position. If he can sit back and say, yeah, he bankrolled the entire DNC for the 2020 campaign to beat Trump. He's going to have a lot to say about who the nominee is going to be. And then he'll be like Jamie Dimon was during the Obama years. He can pick up the phone and call the White House and say, yeah, I'm coming over to talk to Barack. Tell him to cancel whatever meetings he's got. I'll be right over. Click. And Barack Obama throws whoever's in the meeting, cancels any other meetings, and in comes Jamie Dimon anytime he wants. That's the type of pull that Bloomberg will have. He will have been the kingmaker. And who is he closely connected to, politically and in a lot of other ways? The rotten Reverend Clinton. This could very well be a rotten Reverend Clinton / Bloomberg scam. Let's keep watching. John Solomon's car was broken into the night before the impeachment hearings. They stole a laptop which contained sensitive information on Biden and Ukraine. Now, this happened right across from the White House Eisenhower building. This has been described as a professional job. They used a sophisticated electronic jamming device, and they opened the lock. Didn't have to break any windows or anything else. Nothing else was taken from the car, and not even the cash which was in the car. Didn't take the cash. They just came to get the documents. Now, there's also a lot of security around that area, but they just happened to be in a place where they were able to evade the scene after doing this. They got away without being caught on any security cameras. So these people had to have a pretty good idea where the security cameras were so that they could avoid being caught on them. So here they're using very high-tech electronic jamming devices, looking like a professional job. They knew exactly what they were going for. They knew Solomon had them, and they knew exactly which direction to go to avoid being picked up by surveillance cameras in an area where there's a shitload of surveillance cameras. Yeah, it was definitely a professional job, and there's probably a lot more going on with that. Currently being investigated, I assume, by the D.C. Metro Police, which we know are corrupt as all hell. I believe one of the top people there in that office is Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz's brother. Good luck with that. Now, I also talked a little bit about the other day, just another thing I want to add to this. I talked yesterday in the video about the fact that I believe that Barr and Durham are setting the table to start taking people down in indictments. And I said, of course, I think that they'll try to do it in a very low-key way. Something else I think, keep in mind, I think that most of these people who are going to be indicted, these cases will never go to trial. I would say probably 95% will not even go to trial. Most of these people are going to cop plea deals and cooperate. Most of these people will cop plea deals and will cooperate. I don't think you'll see perp walks. I think that they will probably contact the attorney. Durham will probably send a couple agents over to the perp's attorney. Say, your client, here's a letter. We've indicted your client. He's got 24 hours to turn himself in. Very quietly, discreetly, just come and turn yourself in. They'll have an express way for them to post their bail, and they'll be out in lieu of a hearing, or they will come in and cut a deal. They will probably even try to cut these deals before the indictment comes down. Durham could send a couple people over and say, yes, we are intending to indict your client. You have 24 hours to either turn yourself in or show up in Mr. Durham's office with your client, and let's talk about what we can do to maybe cut a deal or a plea deal or something like that. So I think that that's how a lot of this is going to go down. I don't expect to see, perp walks and takedowns like we saw Roger Stone raids or anything else. I think this is going to be done in a very low-key way. That's just my thoughts on it at this point. Not what I want to see, but I think that that's probably how it's going to go down. Just my thoughts. Lots and lots and lots and lots of plea deals is what I think you'll see happening. And there will be people who will turn. There will be people who will turn. Now, this week's Dumbass of the Week, unfortunately, I've taken a lot of time. I'm going to have to go through these very quickly, but it was very, very close, so let's get through this. Giovanni Angelo went with Valerie Jarrett. Beautiful Brown went with Susan Collins, the Penguin, Romney, and every lawyer who voted for witnesses. Yes, they should all be disbarred. Well done, Beautiful Brown. Friend and Liberty went with Kamala Harris. For that snickering and laughing she was doing, she had to be shut up by Chuck the Cuck. I'm sure you saw the clip. Jana Williams went with Justice Roberts for not allowing Rand Paul's question. Yeah, he didn't allow Rand Paul's question, but by not allowing Rand Paul's question, he essentially outed the whistleblower. Freddie Schaffer is going to go with Pelosi galore for her forever impeached comment. We have Jamie Anzavino is going to go with Bolton, Roberts, and Schiff. Mary Willis will go with Bloomberg. Mrs. Miggins will go with Babs. Mrs. Miggins is going to go with Babs Streisand. Streisand's comment about how Schiff is practically a genius. He's a great lawyer. He's so truthful. He's so honest. He would be a great president. Haha, you got to be shitting me. Rotax is voting for himself for paying so much attention to Hannity. Yeah. There's a lot of people probably in that group. Judy Moore will go with Beautiful Brown's votes, which, of course, Beautiful Brown had gone for Susan Collins, Nadler, and Romney for tying for second place, and, of course, the lawyers who voted for witnesses. Linda Martin went with Roberts, Schiff, and Nadler. Keith Fellows went with Judge Roberts, Schiff, and Nadler. Krabby went with Schiff. Jenny Tweets went with Mitwit, the Bug-Eyed Fool, and the Penguin. Net will go with Pelosi galore, Schiff, the Penguin, and the Southern District of New York. We have Oregon Outback's going to go with Justice Roberts. Joe Mack is going to go with John Roberts and the Penguin. Gordon Brown will go with Shifty and Romney and Collins. Impeach My Ass will go with Mitwit. Joey D will go with the Bug-Eyed Fool, the Penguin, and Pelosi galore. Alan Williams will go with Schiff. None OYB, which I assume is none of your business, will go with Justice Roberts for his undersight of FISA. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we haven't forgotten about that. Jeanette Bateman will go with Justice Roberts, Susan Collins, and Mitwit. Gene Alley will go with Romney and Collins, along with Justice Roberts and the Penguin. Partly Sunny will go with Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren, according to Ted Cruz, posted up the question that caused Murkowski to vote no witnesses. Miss Tree is going to go with the Bug-Eyed Fool. Leslie Klein will go with the rotten Reverend Clinton. Peter James, our good friend out in the Great Northwest, is going to go with Quid Pro Quo Joe, the Remainers. Yes, the Remainers, and the Bug-Eyed Fool. Babs White is going to go with Pedo Joe. Jonathan Cassidy will go with the Bug-Eyed Fool, Susan Collins, and Willard. Gidget is going to go with Mitwit and Susan Collins. Chris Bacon will go with Justice Roberts. Cards will go with Justice Roberts. Rose Quartz is going to go with Mitwit. Youngblood will go with Justice Roberts. Stage Door Johnny is going to go with Justice Roberts. A tie between Mitwit and Susan Collins, and the Bug-Eyed Fool. Linda Davis is going to go with Pierre Delecto. That would be Mitwit. Butch Wells will go with Justice Roberts and Mitwit. Sane Environmentalist will go with the Chinese government and the House Managers. Well done, Sane Environmentalist, as usual. Maura J, the lovely and talented Maura, is going to go with the Bug-Eyed Fool, Chuck the Cuck, and the Penguin. Caitlin Beale will go with Justice Roberts. Sue Sung will go with the Bug-Eyed Fool, and Hakeem Jeffries. Oh yes, Hakeem Jeffries telling us that it's okay if you do collusion with Russians or someone else, foreign governments, to rig elections, as long as you paid for it. Linda Thomas will go with the Bug-Eyed Fool and the Penguin. Gregory Woolery will go with Lindsey Graham. Still making those promises. He was on Bartholomew and Hannity in the last 24 hours. Again, promising he's going to get to the bottom of things. Mike G is going to go with Bolton, and Kelly, John Kelly, I assume we're talking about, as well as the Bug-Eyed Fool. Lee is going to go with Justice Roberts, the Bug-Eyed Fool, and the Penguin. Robin McWilliams will go with the Bug-Eyed Fool, Nitwit, and the Crazy Carol Lady. Oh, yes. I haven't had time to talk about that. Many of you have probably seen it. That Crazy Carol Lady is back, now claiming that the dress she had 25 years ago, she hasn't dry cleaned in 25 years. She wants to see if there's a Trump DNA sample on it. The woman's nuts. I don't know if you saw that interview she did with the gay guy over there at CNN with the gray hair, the former CIA guy. But essentially, he had to cut to a commercial break because as he began to get into this part of her story, where she's supposed to give this emotional part of her story about how Trump raped her, she begins talking about how rape is kind of sexy and kind of, and she's kind of like showing no emotion. It freaked him out so bad he had to take a commercial break. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to go real well. Go back and look at that clip again. Boy, that's freaky. That is just, that's disturbing, quite honestly. She's a very kind of freaky, I mean, there's something wrong with that woman. Quite honestly, I don't even think the Democrats are nutty enough to put her back into the game. I mean, they gave her shot, and she blew it. And she blew it bad. I think they're going to stay far away from her as they can. And I don't think her situation will go anywhere. That's ridiculous. William Tatum is going to go with Hannity because he keeps being suckered by Graham, along with Judge Roberts and Jeffries. Susan Lowell is going to go with Judge Roberts and Madame Botox, Pelosi galore. Kimmy is going to go with Nitwit, Judge Roberts, and Rashida Tlaib. Good old Rashida Tlaib comes out and leaves a boo against Hillary at some event she was with the two other horsewomen of the apocalypse. And then after she led the crowd in booing Hillary, she comes out the next day after getting the call and apologizes. She has no sack whatsoever, does she? No, she does not. She's all mouth. Let's see. We have T.W. Wintex will go with Mittens. Ricky Ricardo will go with Mitt. Douglas is going to go with Mr. Planter's Peanut Man. Schumer's Invisible Man. And Pierre Delecto, of course, Mitwit. Hey is going to go with Rand Paul. Linda Nelson will go with Collins and Mitwit. Michael is going to go with Schiff, Biden, and Tlaib. One Day Closer to Death will go with Bolton and John Roberts. Ronnie DeMasters will go with Judge Roberts. Led Zeppanzer is going to go with the Bug-Eyed Fool. Alrighty. Boy, that was tough. Did it in 8 minutes. A lot of votes. Go through in 8 minutes. Thank you so much for participating in this week's Dumbass of the Week. The voting was so close this week, coming in with 20 first-place votes. We have winning again this week, barely, the Bug-Eyed Fool, Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is our number one Dumbass of the Week with 20 first-place votes. Coming in second place, very close, just 2 votes shy. With 18 votes, we have Justice Roberts. I'm not a fan. And also, coming in third place, we have Mitwit Willard Romney with 17 votes. So first place wins. Schiff 20 votes. Roberts second place 18 votes. Romney third place at 17 votes. Now, Ted Cruz was telling a story that I guess he was served under Justice Roberts, and said the guy has a reputation that he never smiles. You never really see Justice Roberts smile. But he said in that moment where Nadler got up to answer that question and Schiff jumped up and said, Jerry. He said he looked up and Justice Roberts was looking down and he literally could not keep from smiling, had a smile on his face. He said, the first time I've seen the man smile in my entire life, and I've known him for 30 years. So yes, that was very funny. The Jerry. We'll never forget that one, will we? Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Bye.